and welcome back. And if you've been following us, you'll know that a lot of our past episodes have been taking us in the Wayback Machine and talking about some old stuff. But today, we're going to flip it on its head. As promised in the last podcast, we did allude to the fact that we were going to be talking a little bit about current happenings, and that today happens to be us pretty much giving who we would have casted as the vets for this current season 41, which is the challenge Vets and New Threats. So, sir, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, just soldiering on. But, you know, this topic actually, I got to give you full transparency, folks. This was actually his idea. So, you know, I can't take credit for this one. So,
I mean, I don't feel like this is a real curveball based on what we usually talk about. But I will say, and I think that there's a few people out there that are watching this season and wondering why certain veterans were being brought back. I mean, not to rain on anyone's parade, but some people just are not in the best shape, and it's showing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing too is like, it's kind of surprising certain people like that were brought back at this time. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, Rogan, like, so happy they brought him back, but it's interesting, like, the casting, like, their frame of thinking to bring him back on, like, this particular season, whereas I feel like season 40 would have been probably the proper reintroduction for Rogan, because we're talking about eras and where people, you know, it's been, you know, about 5 years or so since 5 or 6 years since we've seen him. So it's to the point now where he kind of feels like he blends in more with the new threats than he does, you know, the vets who we've been seeing regularly.
I guess. I mean, to be fair, Rogan's only done like three prior seasons.
3.
Yeah, and that's including Vendettas. But the veterans have done 3,000 seasons, so it doesn't matter when they bring him back. The veterans kind of know him, especially CT, who won War of the Worlds 2 with him. But I kind of understand what they're doing with Rogan because they want to at least try to spice up the cast a little bit. The real wild card to me, and someone I'm a huge advocate of being brought back, is Michaela. Just because her history is really not on MTV. She was on one MTV episode. She did well on USA too, but she doesn't feel like she has any ties to this veteran cast, like the actual veterans.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, she's definitely somebody I feel like that might have been more fan service-y. You know, like she's pretty popular. She's pretty popular following when it comes to people on Twitter. I know for sure that.
Yeah. And hear me out. I am a fan. I like Michaela, but if you're going to say vets and new threats, and the advertisements talk about these are the veterans that invented the game, which I don't buy that, but that's what the advertisement says. Michaela really doesn't fit into that category by any stretch of the imagination. I think that they just like her, fan service perhaps, and this was the time that she had available, so it just worked out and they shoehorned her in.
Yeah, I mean, and this is also, I mean, Derek Chavez is another, like, if you would have told us even a couple years ago, like, him being on the flagship again, 2 consecutive seasons, nonetheless, like, that would have been probably something we would have been pretty surprised. Like, if you would have told me, like, if we never would have saw him again after All-Stars 2, I would have totally believed you, you know, if somebody told me that. You know, we've seen so many times people get brought back in, like, one-offs, and then that's it. You know, like, we just never see them again.
Yeah, and especially All-Stars 4, it really seemed like they stepped up their game when it came to casting the women that season, and they had, like, A-tier girls competing, and then D-tier guys.
Oh, yeah.
So for Derek to emerge as like the chosen one to make a comeback from that cast just is very out of left field.
Oddly enough, I actually kind of like this is like before the season actually aired. Like going into All Stars 4, I actually was excited about the male cast. Like the cast in general, I was excited about, but I was actually like oddly excited about the male side because it was such like a wild card that like it almost made it interesting or intriguing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and I will give them credit. It was intriguing. When you have a cast like that, someone unexpected is going to rise to the top and emerge, and that's exactly what happened. But what was surprising was Brad was out pretty early, Leroy was a flop, and it kind of seemed like...
And Tony went home early, too.
Yeah, but that was his own doing.
Well, yeah.
For whatever reason, he had to leave. But it seemed like those three were like supposed to be the top three guys.
Yeah.
Instead, we got Derek,
Steve,
I can't even... Ace.
Jay.
Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah. It was definitely an interesting sequence there. But, yeah, we're pretty much going to be giving our guys and girls veterans that we would have put on this cast. So some of these are going to be the same that we left here, and then some of them are going to be new. I can go ahead and go with my guys to start off if you would like.
Yeah. Well, why don't you start with the guys that you left that were actually cast this season?
Yeah, so as for the guys that were actually casted, the ones that I'm leaving is actually only 3 of them.
Me too.
And this is going to catch some people by surprise, but I actually kept Bananas. I think that as of this point in time, he's actually one of the only veterans that is like really making waves right now, and I feel like I would have actually kept him. I would have kept Turbo because I feel like any cast that has him on it is better off for it because he makes really good TV. And then, obviously this person didn't fare very well in real life, but using the power of hindsight, I would have still kept Rogan on it,
It's funny because I kept the exact same 3 men on the cast as you did. I was this close to chopping Turbo, but my defense for keeping him, I'm a big Turbo fan, but this is a fairly competitive cast to be a part of, and he just did All-Stars. But I feel like this is kind of the spiritual successor to War of the Worlds, and he won War of the Worlds. So it kind of makes sense for someone who emerged victorious in a very similar challenge landscape to return for a season like this.
So as for the people that I decided to add, this would be then 5 people. A few wild cards on here and a couple like real shots in the dark, and then some more realistic. So I'm gonna go out and start with one that's kind of on the more realistic side. However, we haven't seen this person on the flagship since they've made their comeback. They've just been strictly an All-Stars person. And recent new champion, I put Adam Larson on the vet side. I would be interested to see how he migrates over to the flagship, given that he's still like really competitive and, has just done 2 seasons, made it far on both, just one. So I'd be interested to see how he migrates over to that show. And then next would be Zach, obviously,
Obviously.
Yeah. Like, I just think it's kind of overdue for him to come back. Every time that he's been there, he's created some type of buzz, whether good or bad. So
I will say Zach, he obviously has his podcast, so he's still very much in the challenge online universe president. He's like half the man he used to be. He's like lost a lot of muscle mass. Maybe he's been taking those flat belly supplements that Jen is promoting on her Instagram. But it'd be interesting because the same Thor that we used to know isn't going to show up.
Well, who knows? If he gets to a final, maybe that works out better for him, though, because he's a little lighter and can run farther.
Yeah, I mean, size is not everything.
Yeah.
And he still is going to be a taller guy, but I think for the casual viewer that last saw him on War of the Worlds 2, they'd be like, who's that man?
Yeah.
Half is Zach.
Yeah. And then for my last three here, I got Shane. Another one who actually, wasn't he an alternate for this, if I recall correctly? Okay, so.
That's what the streets are saying.
So for that alone, I mean, shit, that's not a good choice by them to not put him on, if you ask me. Then I got Hunter, which if you've watched any of these podcasts, you'll know that I'm quite the advocate for him coming back as well. Him and Zach are kind of in that same boat, except one is very public right now with talking about the challenge, and the other one's like seemingly never talking about the challenge with Hunter. So,
yeah, I toyed with playing him on my cast, but my gut's telling me he's done at this point. But who knows? I mean, Rogan came back, so.
Yeah, that ship for Hunter feels like it's sailing into the night as each passing season goes on. And then this last person is a more recent cast member. They last were on 38, and I felt that they were probably the best villain on that season. At least definitely guy-wise. I got Jay Starrett.
Oh, yeah. He was on 39.
Yes, 39, my bad. Battle for a New Champion.
He was.
Yeah. He was on both. But yeah, I felt like he had a pretty good villain type season on that, and I would have liked to have seen him even on 40 for that matter too. He could have possibly been an addition to that cast. Definitely would have given him an opportunity on this though, for sure. So I had a nice little mix of like old and new and somewhere in between.
Yeah, for sure. I went with a few curveballs, kind of curveballs. With this cast, you have to be somewhat realistic, and it's pretty clear to me that there's a decent initiative by production to include people who have done CBS shows. So like The Survivor, the Big Brother people. So I have a couple of those. I will say the one overlap we had was Jay.
Okay.
Because I agree with you, he had a big villain arc, and he comes onto this season. Who's he going to align with? Is he going to be with Bananas, who he's had beef with in the past, or Team Olivia, who he's had beef with in the past? Kind of. I mean, Olivia did kind of like stab people in the back to work with Jay, so I think he has enough of a storyline behind him that it would be fresh to have him, but not unfamiliar.
Right.
The other people I put on, maybe I'm taking the bait here, but he is very vocal about coming in and making waves in the game, and that is my boy Paulie.
Okay.
And spoiler alert, I don't keep Cara Marie on the cast because we know that she leaves, so I just took her out of the equation.
Okay.
So I think we've never actually seen, I don't think we've ever had a challenge episode with Paulie and not Cara Marie. So I think it would be interesting.
That's a really good point, actually.
How he fares on his own, especially on a season that he claims he do so well in.
Well, wait, wasn't he on, he was on USA without her, though, right?
Oh, yeah. I forgot he was only there for like a minute.
But is that I don't know if that's canon within the challenge universe.
He debunked my myth that he would do well without Cara Maria, but I still keep him on my cast because I wrote it in ink. I can't change it.
Exactly. No white out here, folks.
Yeah. I'm kind of shaky on including him, but he is one of the emerging rookies, and I have Kyland on the cast. He just did well on season 40, and he's kind of like a veteran slayer at this point because he's beaten Darrell like 19 times, and that's about it. But he has taken a few veterans out of the game, I think.
He beat Brad too, I think, on 39.
Oh, There you go. And he won a couple of eliminations on season 40. I just can't remember who off the top of my head.
He also beat Huey, too. So that's even more of an accomplishment. I mean, if you could take down Huey, you could probably take down Landon. I mean,
I actually get them confused all the time.
Yeah. I mean, who would have, right?
Another person I think after season 40 definitely deserves another chance because he left on a high note, and that is Tony.
Right. Which Tony are we gonna get? Because it's been such he's been kind of an enigma within. Like, we don't actually know. Like, is he intentionally showing up and shit just keeps hitting the fan, or is he like just coming up with any excuse he can make to kind of use as his defense mechanism for really just showing up for the appearance fee?
Tony's the type of player, and I'm going to make a poker reference here. He knows he comes into the game with like a handful of sixes. Like, he does not have a winning hand, so he tries to play every move he can to advance in the game, other than like actually do well. And the funny thing is, he can do pretty well. Yeah. He just tries to make like these dumb, shifty moves. But it's always entertaining. As much as I think like he makes knuckleheaded moves in the game, he is always entertaining, and I welcome him to come back on the cast. My last mail, obviously, is from, we last saw him on season 37, is Gabo from Poland, whatever.
I think you put him on another fantasy cast that we did.
I'm just kidding. He's my burner placeholder. The last person I put is actually coming off of the All-Stars win, and I put Steve. I'm
that's a good
probably
choice.
A big advocate of having Steve come onto the show because he's such a dark horse in the game. Mm-hmm. I don't think he would like adhere to anyone's alliances, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, but he's one of those players that is very well-rounded, and I think that he poses a threat because there's really nothing that is like going to outright stop him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of like, it's somewhat similar to mine, because we both have Jay, obviously, and then we kept Bananas, Turbo, and Rogan, and then I feel like we've got like interchangeable with Adam and Steve there, like obviously different personalities, but like kind of interchangeable since they both just won together. Yeah. It'd be the same scenario kind of, and then you've got like Paulie, which kind of fills like my role that I have with like either a Hunter or a Zach, I guess you could say, because more or less Hunter, because kind of around the same time period, but yeah, I mean, we're kind of similar in that regard. We have similar casts.
I will say, I have a couple alternates, like, because I was just crossing out people. I was close to putting Shane on the cast, but I didn't because I didn't.
Yeah, I kind of toyed with putting Frank on, but I really was thinking more with my head or my heart instead of my head with that, so I just ultimately didn't do it.
I don't think he would do this season, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, now we can get into our girls, which I guess this might be more controversial. So, as for who I'm keeping, and again, if I would have uttered these words, in the last several years, these would have never been words to probably come out of my mouth, but I'm keeping Nani on the cast. Again, if you would have asked me 3 seasons ago, 4 seasons, I probably would have said, like, I think it's a break. I think we need to move on here. But, I mean,
I only kept 3 females as well on the cast, and I did keep Nani.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. I think that she just came off of the breakup with Casey, which is actually, so far, it's about as boring as we expected it to be. But there should have been a story there.
Yeah.
Before the season aired, she was like, all will be revealed on this season. But all we know on this season is, we are friends, we are just going in different directions, which is fine, but like, this is a reality show. We want drama. But at least she's hooking up with other people and giving us that, so.
Yeah, which I gotta make a special shout out because Will, I think, has been an A rookie casting choice. If you ask me,
He's an interesting one.
He reminds me of Hunter.
Well, they were both on Are You the One? They're both kind of like bags of muscle.
Southern guys.
And they both have a thing for Nani.
Do you remember at the reunion when at War of the Worlds 1 when they were asking Nani and Hunter about like if anything happened off the show? Nani seemed pretty like either hurt or something in regards to Hunter, and then like brought up about Hunter having a kid when I don't even think producers know. Like they didn't. I don't even think they knew because they didn't ask Hunter. Like they didn't come out and say, "Oh, Hunter, we heard you're having a kid." Like Nani was like, "Are you having a kid, Hunter?" And then he was like not saying anything, and then like I think Gus or somebody was behind him, like, "Hey, come on, we don't have to talk about this here." And then they changed subject really quick.
I will always treasure that memory. Great time.
But as for the other ladies that I kept Ashley, obviously. This is her first flagship season back, and she was, robbed on All Stars 5 due to, having Anissa as a partner. I kept Michaela, and I chose to keep Olivia. Just, again, this might be potentially the power of hindsight or whatever. But yeah, I did keep Olivia. And this is kind of like not so much a keep because it's more so just me using this person's spot to like leverage somebody else coming in. Cara comes in, but instead of having John A replace her, I had her get replaced by Amanda. Yeah.
That would be a nice twist.
Yeah. And then, for my other new additions, I went with Nerese, Kayla, and Georgia. I went with Kayla just because I thought it would be something different. I could have went a different route and casted somebody who's like regularly still appearing recently, like a Raven or somebody, but like I chose to go with Kayla because I was more interested in seeing like Nani and Kayla together without Jenna there, because it kind of felt like they like were like friends like through Jenna. So I'd be interested to see how that would work like without Jenna as the glue in between that. And I'm also just kind of curious on how Ashley and Kayla would work together or potentially not work together. On a season in like, would Kayla fall in line with the Lavender ladies? Like, that'd be interesting to see. And then, obviously, Olivia and Kayla, Olivia's kind of come into her own. I know Kayla and her were technically on 38 together, but not for very long.
They weren't on together because...
Oh, yeah, because I think... or, I don't know, actually. Because they got brought...
When they got brought, they might have gotten brought in before the first challenge.
Yeah, so if they were they might have not been together, but if they were, it was not for a very long time at all. And that was before Olivia really like came into her own and found her footing. So
that was Olivia's old face, so it's basically a different person.
Exactly, and then obviously you've got Nerese here with Kayla as well. So. Another dynamic that would be fresh. Did I mentioned Georgia, right?
Yeah. I actually toyed with putting Georgia on my cast, but it turns out she's super pregnant right now.
Is she?
Not that would ever stop them, but I just thought she might decline because of that.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped them in the past, seemingly.
Yeah, so the three girls that I kept, Nani, I kept Ashley because she should have been on 40 over some of the people that were there. And I kept Olivia as well. I also put Nerese on my cast because she really was like the it girl after season 39. Her time on season 40 was kind of cut short.
Yeah.
But that also leaves some like loose ends on the storyline, and it makes her return feel a little bit more welcome. I also put Michelle from Survivor on the cast.
Yeah.
I know she's done like 45 seasons in a row at this point, but it really, like, it felt like going into 39, Olivia had like the rising star arc on Ride or Dies. Going into season 40, Olivia had the rising star arc, and Michelle was the one that like kind of fought her way to the end on season 40, at least on the girls' side. She went into the most eliminations, and it seems like her story should kind of continue, especially because she got robbed out of second place on that season. So I actually think it's kind of weird that they cast Olivia over Michelle. Granted, I have them both on my fantasy cast.
Listen, sometimes when production likes you, they like you.
Yeah,
and I think that's the case in Olivia's. They've pretty much made her. They tried to make. I mean, her and Horacio were essentially the, the proto or the poster people for season 39 going into it. Like, they were very dead set on centering, I guess, the direction of the new generation of people behind Horacio and Olivia. Now, obviously, Horacio seems like, we don't actually know if we'll see him again. I mean, it's the challenge, never say never, but it seems like he's the type of guy, and based off what he's saying, like, who seems content not doing TV again, so it's really for him whether or not he would just want to compete. And plus, I think production got a little salty about him sharing details about the elimination with Derek.
Yeah. I don't know why they would get salty about that, because the fans love that stuff.
Makes buzz for the show.
What was that?
It said it adds buzz to the show if people were talking about it. So.
And not only that, production actually gave footage that justified their response. And there's a lot of people that have issues with some of the calls that were made on the show. And they kind of backed up what they were saying in some degree. It still looks really like janky, the elimination, and they had to make up rules on the fly. But they did back their shit up. So another thing, I think Horacio, because he does that like soccer show that I believe airs in Mexico or Latin America, not quite sure, but I think he injured his leg again. Never stopped them from casting people in the past, but he might decide not to do the show because he has an injured leg. But the other girls I put Amber B on the cast. I'm a little shaky on that one. But it occurred to me that she won another similar season, Double Agents, which is kind of the same train of thought I had for keeping Turbo on the cast.
Yeah.
She was like a rotating partner, managed to come to the end and win with CT on Double Agents. So it just seemed like this was a season that she would fit, although I'm sure production told her she didn't fit the theme.
Yeah.
The last two girls I have, because I realized I was cutting all the people that were from like the real world and like the actual origin of this show. I put Emily Schramm, who left a little bit early last season. And I put someone who I think is on an upward trend right now, and that is my girl, the loudest person on the cast, Tina. That would be a little bit of Road Rules representation for us. And I think that she actually had a really good showing on Battle of the Eras.
That was probably her best showing, probably.
I mean, all she had to do was not get injured, and she did better than half of her team. And she managed to do that and outlast most people. So I would...
Probably her best run since coming back, probably.
I actually toyed with keeping Aviv on the cast because, similar to other people, she won Fresh Meat, and that was, I consider all of these like introduce a new crop of rookie seasons as spiritual successors to Fresh Meat. So like the War of the Worlds, Spies Like Allies, that's a new threat. I kind of view them in a similar vein.
Isn't that crazy? She came back after all this time, sort of like unexpectedly, and then like has done 2 flagship seasons, not even like an all-star one. You would think like it would go the opposite, but like that's kind of wild.
It's so random, but I love when they do random shit like that. Like, I love when we get like a cast that is like 90% stale, but then you get like those 1 or 2 people that you just weren't expecting. It makes it
like
fun.
Therese, remember during COVID era, like when Departure Day happened for Double Agents, when Teresa got announced, that literally was an exciting time during like what we didn't know at the time was kind of going to be like a little bit of like a dark era, I guess you could say, in the sense of like, the direction in which the season and the shows upcoming might start to really take. I think they had enough goodwill still, like with the fans, production that is, during like Total Madness, where like they started dipping into some other people, like whatever. Casey and Fessy were kind of wallpaper on 35 to an extent, albeit good competitors, but like they were just dipping into a larger pool, but like fans kind of like gave production the benefit of the doubt, I would say. On
I feel like on 35, and I might be the only one here saying this, but like we got, I think, 7 rookies. And I looked at the rookies coming in. They were up from Big Brother 20. They were from Survivor, one from The Amazing Race. I'm like, I see the vision. Aside from Asaf, who's been on like 3,000 reality shows from God knows where. He did do Are You the One, but they didn't credit that. But I'm like, with the CBS infiltration, I see the vision. Like, I can go into Paramount Plus and watch those shows. Those people were somewhat recently relevant on Survivor, Big Brother. Jen was only on 1 episode of The Amazing Race, so she was never relevant. But I understood what they were trying to do. And then Double Agents comes in, and they're casting people from, like, America's Got Talent. They don't. And the WWE, we have Lolo Jones coming in. I don't even remember Love Island UK.
Yeah.
Remember Gabby, who fell in love with Fessy? And then like 75 of them.
We had one promising girl on Double Agents that I feel like kind of left a little unwritten. We had, I thought, Liv. Do you remember Liv? The one that there was like an unaired sort of like triangle between Amber M and her and that guy Michi. And we never really got to like, well, we didn't get to see it actually at all. Got edited out. And then Liv left due to injury, but I felt like she was somebody who had some potential, not even necessarily as a competitor, but like probably like one of those confessional whizzes.
Yeah. I believe she was like on location in Iceland for Double Agents.
You mean for You mean for 37?
Yes. Not Double Agents. 37.
Yeah. No, I heard that as well. Like she was in quarantine, and I guess maybe she either wasn't used or got dropped, something like that.
Yeah, I think she was a little bit bitter about that.
Yeah, which I mean, honestly, I would be too if I got flown out there and didn't get used.
It's funny because like now we have these random ass people who were alternates on seasons, and we don't even know who they are. Like back in the day, like the alternates would be people like we saw in the real world. So like at least we have some taste and some level of expectation as to who they might be. But like from on Ride or Dies, there was a pair that was from like Love Island, South Africa. I don't know who those people are, but they're like somewhere in the challenge universe. They were almost on the show.
You know who actually, now that I'm remembering, was allegedly called for 37? Like, kind of random. Do you remember that? Not the Atlanta season of Real World, not the Facebook one, but the one before that. What was it? Bad Blood?
Yeah.
Do you remember that girl, Jordan? The one that, yeah. Apparently she got called for 37.
Yeah, I would have liked to see her come in. I really would have loved on season 39, Battle for New Champion, if they like gave us like Theo from that season as a random ass return, just like a little bit of fan service for the people who have stuck around for a while. Like, he only had one shot on the show, didn't make a huge positive impression, but like he's kind of hungry for a return, and that seemed like a really appropriate time for him to shine. And it's just like, for the long-term fans, you get this one drop of the real world in there. But no, instead we had to have Huey.
You know, it's like real fans, or smart fans, I should say, should be receptive to the idea of like a Theo coming back, right? But then you got like I don't want to even call them casuals, but like devoted fans, but they live in like this like bubble where like everything is like an orbit around CT and like Johnnybananas and Cara Maria, and like nothing else exists. Like, and if like anybody else is not those people, they automatically suck. Like, you know, this person fucking quit. Like, he didn't jump off the rock. Fuck him. Like, he can't be on the show. Like,
yeah, but they're not going to say anything about CT not climbing the ladder.
No.
And the thing about that challenge that Theo quit on, and we're like going so far off on a tangent, but it's like the second you hesitate, you've lost, because it's a zip line, and Corey went, got all the balls, and just like threw himself off the cliff. So if Theo hesitates for a second, there's no point in going, because it's a timed event. He hesitated, Corey didn't. It's over. You know, and not only that, it's again timed event on a zip line, so you have no control over the speed. The challenge is jumping,
right?
And if he chooses not to, it's not really quitting, because the point of the game is to jump as fast as possible, and the fear is supposed to deter you from doing it that quickly. So I don't really understand. I understand that people like weren't impressed with his performance, but if he jumped, was that ever going to be a good elimination?
It was a very poor concept in theory. Like, I mean, you know, out of all those sort of eliminations that they did, like to get it, like the original eliminations to get into the Oasis, I mean, like the elimination that Bruno and Tony and Kayla and Marie did was like kind of okay. But I'm trying to remember what else. I mean, I think Anthony and Dario had like this weird little like race, or like
they climb up these stairs to a monastery or something. I remember Sylvia drinking puddle water.
Yeah, she looked Toya in that, I want to say.
Yeah, but it's like they had to stagger it because it was too narrow, which I think adds to the fun. Like, let them bump into each other. Like, make it a hall brawl. But no, you couldn't do that. So it just looks shady. It looks like it's a timed event, but we don't see the times.
Yeah, so I mean, plus, I mean, if we're being honest, I mean, I don't know if production was ever going to let Corey and Jenna lose that elimination to begin with.
No. I don't think so. I mean,
if you're making look, I mean, you're making a television show at the end of the day. I'm not saying that they should have rigged it, but I'm saying, like, would I be surprised if they did? Absolutely not. I mean, Theo played right into their hand.
Corey and Theo, I think that they wanted Corey to stay. But I guess I could see a world where they kind of push Theo through, or at least allow him to get through based on his own merits. There is no way that Annika is going to beat Jenna when they know that Jenna has her ex-boyfriend, Zach, coming in 2 episodes. There is no way that's going to happen. Like, I think that this elimination was probably designed as like a Jenna keepsake. So
it was a placeholder, I think, like a placeholder spot if one of the, you know, casting favorites gets put into that position.
Yeah, I would be pissed if I won that elimination, though, because the next daily challenge, Amanda and I think Shane won like $5,000 to Burger King, and only 3 people got to play in that elimination. I'm like, if I'm in this competition, I want to be able to win Whoppers.
Was that the one where they were in the cage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Anthony. He would have been. He was somebody that I thought. I know you're not a huge Ari the One watcher. I don't think, right? Well, neither am I really. But a few years ago, like, when I was interviewing Anthony, like, I did go back and rewatch his Ari the One a bit just to kind of see, like, if there's something worth talking about. He basically was like the main character of his Ari the One season, which I think was season 2. I want to say.
Yeah.
Like, he pretty much was like the main character, more or less, of that season, and like there were such high hopes of him coming over onto the challenge. Like, and it was weird because he didn't initially debut, so like he had people from his season, like Dario's on his season, and he obviously went on Bloodlines. And I'm trying to remember Christina did Bloodlines as well, and she was on that. And then obviously Christina and Dario both did Rivals 3, and as did Brianna and Nate. So he didn't like debut initially. Like, it was like 2 seasons where his cast was eligible, and he didn't come on until 29. So they clearly were really interested in him to
Yeah, that used to be like a thing. They used to have people that would come at, like, they would stagger the entry of the seasons. So like Brittany from Are You the One 3 could have done Rivals, could have done Invasion, but ends up debuting on 30.
Yeah.
She did 3 seasons and we never saw her again.
I heard that like her and Hunter were supposed to, or like actually I think she said it actually, that her and Hunter were alternates for Rivals 3.
I think there was a thing with them, but also there was a reason that they couldn't appear. Like, someone was injured or someone had something going on. So it wasn't like they wanted to do the show, but production didn't want them.
Mm-hmm.
From what I recall, and I could be mistaken, someone had an injury and the team couldn't go through because of that.
Well, my money's on Hunter, I guess, but
don't know what he came in on Invasion and did pretty well until he saw Sudoku. Yeah,
exactly. Maybe his brain was injured.
Yeah, that apparently Sudokus are like the new thing that you have to know to be on the challenge, because they had the whole puzzle challenge on season 40.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, I've noticed with this season there's a lot of challenges that look cool, but are just a puzzle.
Life's a puzzle, folks. You just gotta fit the pieces into place. It's the metaphor for this episode. But thanks again for hopping on here. Glad we were able to talk a little bit about current happenings, and for those, well, obviously they're not going to be seeing this until after, but in real time, the challenge episode for this week begins in like roughly 43 minutes. So, getting out of here right on time. So,
yeah, I need to make sure I don't miss it because it will never play again anywhere else.
Exactly. All right, folks. Take care until next time.
See you later.